Well, hey guys, I'm checking in here halfway through the course week. Two things I want to highlight. And the first one is simply this. I know that by the time we're done with this week, you will have that narrative sermon from 1 Samuel 17 ready to preach. Well, at least in final form. I always read over my manuscript and my outline several times before I actually step into the pulpit and preach it. So uh, that's not due till the end of the course, and I would encourage you to take this time to really just go over it repeatedly and familiarize yourself with it so that when you preach it, it is natural, it is flowing from you. I realize, having done this for a while, that when you are preparing sermons week in and week out, you don't always have the time to do the rehearsal that you thought. I'll tell you this, I'll guarantee you, you will not have 2 weeks to put a sermon together. Just this week, walk into the office on Monday, there's a phone call. I have a funeral on Friday. Uh, my mentor used to say people never die on schedule. And so I have that going on. I'm helping a senior citizen move on Saturday. And we're leaving town on Sunday afternoon to go visit family for Labor Day. All of that plays in. So it's good to have a rhythm and it's good to do everything you can to rehearse because there will be interruptions. So take your time and use the advantage of time you have to not just put this sermon together, find a bunch of people and preach it, but you've got a few weeks. That being said, I am going to ask you, and I'm going to put this in writing probably in week 4. I want you to give me a description of the people to whom you are going to be preaching your sermon for this class on video. I really don't want this being you in a room somewhere pretending there's an audience. In fact, that's not the assignment. You are to preach it to a live audience. And I would like you to describe that audience for me. And here's why, and it leads to my second thing. There's always a question: how much of the original text should I use in my sermon? How often should I mention a Hebrew or in the New Testament a Greek word, or maybe even get really good and do an Aramaic word? My answer is almost never. I really agree with Dr. Mathewson in that regard, that you don't want to do anything that would make anyone in your congregation believe that they can't sit down, open the Bible, read it for themselves, and learn from it. And when you use Greek and Hebrew words, just throw them out there, and you make yourself the expert, and you run the risk of making someone feel like, well, I don't have that kind of training. I guess I can't understand the Bible. That does more damage than good. And so my way of doing it is sometimes I will run across a word and I will say, this word could have been translated this, or what the text really means by this word is this. There are certain times that you can look up a variety of English translations and say, oh, I really like the way that the English Standard Version translates this word. Or I like the way that Eugene Peterson in his message amplifies this word. So all kinds of ways that you can bring out the nuance of the text without promoting or parading your knowledge of Greek and Hebrew. And here's why. I've already mentioned the first reason. Here's the second one. You are going to have people from all backgrounds in your congregation. In my small congregation, I have several individuals who only have a high school diploma and have worked all of their lives in different ways in the trades and all. I also have um, a couple of PhDs, uh, a gal that's working on her doctor of education, a doctorate of psychology. So I have people that are highly educated. My job is to try to find where the middle ground is. And so bring in enough of the text that the highly educated know that I've done my homework, but not be so academic that those that aren't highly educated can still learn and grow. That's the art of preaching. We take all of this work, all of this exegetical work that we've done, and we bring it all together. And like my homiletics professors used to say way back in the day, you put the cookies on the bottom shelf so everybody can reach them. So as you do your work in the text, and I encourage you to do it, and I'm not asking you to be a Hebrew scholar, I'm not, trust me, but do your work in the text, use the tools that are available to you, learn it, understand it, and then bring it forward. This last week, I preached from Proverbs 31, 10 to 31. I did not preach that text as a text of a divine to-do list for women. I looked at it more as the metaphor of wisdom that caps up the whole book of Proverbs. But one of the things about that section is, first, it's an acrostic. Every letter of the Hebrew Hebrew alphabet starts each verse. And then secondly, it's in chiastic structure. There's a unique parallel. So I actually took the English translation of Proverbs and then I wrote it and put it together in its chiastic structure. I printed it in a handout and handed it out to my people so that my congregation could see what it looks like and they could see the parallelism. And it didn't make them feel foolish. In fact, several people went, wow, that's pretty neat. I've not ever seen that before. So there are creative ways that we can engage our people in the text without having to parade our knowledge of Greek and Hebrew out in front of them as if it's something amazing. So those are my thoughts on our check-in. A little longer than I thought, got a little long-winded. I'm a preacher. Looking forward to your work this week. God bless.